Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody. Haftarah Noach. I'll be concentrating on the Haftarah. The Haftarah this week is Isaiah 54. As I was working on my Drash this week, I couldn't help but get this song out of my head. It's actually an old song. It's actually from my youth, and the title of this song is actually the title that that sometimes a theme or a title just pops out, and I write it down, and that's what's going to be the theme of this. So, this song is called "I Swear" by All for One. I swear by the moon and the stars. You guys have heard of it, I guess. It's actually a love song from 1994, way back, 1994, and I was a pretty cool kid growing up. And in 1994, it was my year, and this song came out, and my girlfriend at the time, she dedicated that to me. However, it was short-lived because by the summer of 1994 approached, she was singing it to somebody else, and I suffered a broken heart. That's why you laughed, as I can see you guys have suffered from a broken heart in the past. Everything is temporary in this life. Nothing lasts forever. Even a broken heart is temporary. But God makes a promise throughout Isaiah chapter 4 for Israel. His promise actually comes in verse 9 of chapter 54. It says, I swear that never again will I be angry with you or rebuke you. He's saying that to Israel. Where does that leave the God-fearing nations, the God-fearing Gentiles? I have a very, very simple answer for that. It's easy. Because of Noah's flood, because of the flood during Noah's time, rather, we're all descendants. We're all related. Because of Abraham, he's the father of all nations. We're all descendants, we're all related. And because of Yeshua, you are grafted branches in the olive tree. Regarding the temporary, my mother used to say, you know, sweetie, problems come and go, but my God, He is good and He is forever. He is eternal. And the opposite is also true. So what is one to do in life? Nothing is permanent. Nothing lasts forever. In 2014, I was in the hospital way too many times, about 7 years ago, and my doctor, he gave me a grim forecast of my condition, and not just to me, but in front of my wife, my kids, my parents. I mean, I was just happy doing the treatment and getting ready to get out, and he said, Brian, I'm sorry to say, but because of your condition, because of your heart, because of your kidneys and all that, you won't live past 35. Those words really meant, for me, they really meant that things were very temporary. So I decided to live my life to the fullest and do what, since my time is limited, I might as well do everything in my life and live it to the fullest. So I decided to do something that was impossible for me at the time. And I said, you know what, I'll just go ahead and do it. I started a business. I always dreamed, it was always a dream of mine to be a businessman. So I might as well go into business, and so I did. So how can one live knowing that there are problems ahead, but also many wonderful days ahead? We always seem to concentrate more on the negative than the positive. So how do we move ahead knowing that there are good things and also bad things ahead? You take one day at a time and you live. Do not dwell on the negative. You have to understand that in this chapter, chapter 54 of Isaiah, it's reminding us that Israel is being held captive in Babylon. It was one of the lowest points for Israel, and God says, don't worry, don't be afraid. In chapter 54, verse 4, God is referring to Bnei Israel. He's saying, don't be afraid, for you won't be ashamed. Don't be discouraged, for you won't be disgraced. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. You know how many times it's written in the Bible? I think Rabbi Ben mentioned it the other day. If you guys are paying attention, it's 365 times. 365 times. Is that Rabbi Ben? Right. That's a year's worth of don't be afraid scriptures, quotes, sayings. And yet our fears and anxieties still get the better of us. Even God's anger is not permanent. Chapter 54, verse 9, God says, for me, this is like Noah's flood. This week's parsha. This is like Noah's flood. Just as I swore that no flood like Noah's will ever cover the earth again, so now I swear that never again will I be angry with you or rebuke you. So now that we know that He won't get angry with us or rebuke us, does that give us a free pass to do whatever we want? If your heart and mind and soul isn't in the right place, it doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what anybody says, it's irrelevant. But if your heart is in the right place, your mind, your soul is in the right place, darkness will flee from you in a blink of an eye. And your light will shine and touch others. It will inspire others. It will inspire others to do good. As I prepare for my 40th birthday in just a few months, I can say that God brought me this far for business. Not my business, but His business. And believe me, there's a lot of work to be done, but there are many who don't answer their calling. The work is plentiful, but the laborers are few. In the worst of times, like Israel being exiled to Babylon, don't be afraid. Just to show you that I'm not afraid and being up here in the Bima, I'd like to close off my short Drash. I was going to just recite it, but I'm going to sing it. It's a popular Christian song. It's written by Matt Redman, and I'll see if I can sing it in key. But this song was one of the first songs that I learned as a worship leader many years ago when I led worship somewhere else. And this song's an old song, and every time I hear it, it brings me down. It humbles me. It brings me down to where I need to be and what I have to do. It reminds me to be humble always. And it goes, bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. Just sing to Him, singing His praise. May God bless you and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.